The skies today are filled with airplanes, drones and helicopters, yet 100 years after the debut of aviation pioneer Glenn Curtis's autoplane in 1917, the car remains stuck on the ground. But perhaps for the first time in a century, flying cars may be a reality soon.
The flying taxi is capable of flying autonomously. In other words, it does not require a pilot to fly. The flying taxi can carry 2 passengers and has a maximum flight range of 30 kilometers. It can fly at speeds of up to 130 kilometers per hour.
Imagine this. Just a few days ago, a car like this one soared into the sky. Yes, it actually flew. This isn't a sci-fi fantasy, but a real prototype for the world's first ever flying car, known as the Xpeng X2. China has already wowed us with groundbreaking innovations like bullet trains, futuristic cruise ships, and high-tech electric vehicles. Now, they've taken their ambition to new heights. Literally. The Xpeng X2 isn't just a concept or a prototype in the making. It's the first fully functional flying car, and it's here to challenge everything we thought we knew about transportation. From the sleek, exposed carbon fiber design to the electric propulsion system, the X2 is powered by AI-driven autonomous flight. It boasts vertical takeoff capabilities and can glide through the air like something straight out of a movie. But what does this mean for the future? How close are we to seeing flying cars regularly in our skies? And what does this mean for other innovators, like Elon Musk, who are pushing the boundaries of tech? Let's dive into this historic moment, where flying cars are no longer just dreams, but realities, breaking down the technology that could soon change the way we travel. A car that flies? It sounds almost too good to be true, right? A car that can take off and soar above traffic? But that's exactly what Xpeng Motors has delivered with the X2. Unlike previous concepts or projects that fizzled out, the X2 isn't just a showpiece. It actually flies. Many companies have flirted with the idea of flying cars, but Xpeng is one of the very first to make it a working reality. For decades, flying cars were confined to the realm of fiction. They made appearances in books, movies, and car exhibitions, but they always seemed just out of reach. Either the technology wasn't advanced enough, or the regulatory barriers were too high. Even when small aircraft manufacturers experimented with personal flying machines, they often looked more like planes than cars. But now, the X2 is here, and it's proving that the future of transportation might just be taking off, literally. When you think about flying cars, you might picture them cruising across vast distances, but the Xpeng X2 is designed for a different purpose. Short urban trips. It's a sleek, all-electric vehicle that takes off and lands vertically, just like a drone. Forget about road trips or cross-country adventures. The X2 is built for quick, efficient urban travel, designed to lift off from tight spaces and avoid the traffic jam below. Ready to learn more about how this technology works? Let's dive into what makes the X2 tick. Musk's take on flying cars, a different vision. While Xpeng Motors is charging ahead with their flying car, Elon Musk has always been more cautious about the idea. He's often expressed his concerns about flying cars being noisy, inefficient, and potentially dangerous if something were to go wrong in midair. To solve urban congestion, Musk prefers to dig tunnels under cities, hence the Boring Company. His idea is simple: get rid of traffic by building underground highways. But while Musk sticks to his underground plans, Xpeng is soaring above the clouds. While Tesla has transformed the world of electric cars, Xpeng is now making bold strides into aerial transportation. And here's the big question: is Musk missing out by sticking to his ground-level vision? Of course, flying cars come with their own set of challenges. Imagine trying to manage traffic in the sky, ensuring safety and regulation across every flight. But while Musk worries about these risks, many experts argue that not embracing flying cars could be a huge mistake. The flying car industry is taking off, and companies like Xpeng are positioning themselves to lead the way. Tesla's advantage is obvious. Their advanced battery and self-driving tech give them a strong foundation. If they choose to enter the flying car market, they won't be starting from scratch. But the real question remains: will they make the leap? For Xpeng Motors, the X2 isn't just a flying car. It's a reliable, stable mode of transport that's safe enough for everyday use. With years of experience in electric vehicle and autonomous driving technology, they've avoided the common pitfalls that have stunted other companies' progress. Gas-powered flying cars would be too loud, polluting, and difficult to manage. But Xpeng's X2? It's electric, automated, and designed for simplicity. Other companies have tried and failed to build flying cars. Whether they've stayed stuck in prototype phases or required human pilots, their designs have always been limited. But Xpeng has gone a step further by focusing on electric propulsion, automation, and vertical takeoff, making the X2 not only possible, but practical. Why is this such a big deal? Let's break down why this technology matters and what it could mean for the future. We've all experienced it. Traffic jams, crowded public transport, and long commutes that feel like they never end. Even with the best infrastructure, road systems can only handle so many vehicles. So, what if the solution isn't more roads, but the air? Enter the flying car, a futuristic concept that could change how we move through cities. Rather than continuing to build more roads, cities could expand upward. Imagine an air traffic system carefully managed to transport people efficiently, easing congestion on the ground. Flying cars could make it possible to take a short, smooth flight instead of enduring long, frustrating taxi rides. People could live farther away from the city center, no longer wasting hours just getting to work. But of course, flying cars come with their own set of challenges. How affordable would they be? And how would cities regulate the hundreds or even thousands of flying vehicles zipping through the air? Plus, let's not forget about the noise. While the Xpeng X2 is electric, its many spinning propellers can still create significant noise. If flying cars become common, cities might have to enforce noise limits or introduce specific flight paths. And then, there's the trust factor. If many people are still unsure about trusting self-driving cars on the road, how comfortable would they be with a self-flying vehicle? The Xpeng X2 is designed to fly autonomously, but public comfort with autonomous flight is still in its early stages. Despite these hurdles, the X2 is a game-changing innovation that has the potential to reshape our world. So how does it work? What exactly powers the X2 flying car? Let's dive into the technology behind this marvel. The Xpeng X2 isn't your average flying machine. It doesn't work like a helicopter or a traditional airplane. What makes it unique is its vertical takeoff and landing VTOL technology, which allows it to lift off and land without the need for long runways. And the best part? It's powered by electricity, meaning it's a green, quiet alternative to gas-powered aircraft. But what makes the X2 even more impressive is its autonomous flying ability. Flying a car might sound like a dream, but not everyone can be a trained pilot. That's why the X2 is designed to fly itself. It's a solution to several key problems. Roads are congested, so it takes off vertically. Gas-powered aircraft are loud and polluting, so it's powered by batteries. Flying requires a skilled pilot, but not everyone is trained, so it flies autonomously. But there's more to this technology than meets the eye. We're about to reveal the biggest marvel of VTOL technology. Keep watching to find out how this all comes together. One of the biggest hurdles in personal air travel has always been the need for long runways. Traditional airplanes require vast stretches of open land to take off and land, which is fine for airports, but totally impractical for everyday travel, especially in busy cities. That's where VTOL, vertical takeoff and landing technology, shines. The Xpeng X2 doesn't need a runway at all. It lifts off vertically, just like a drone, needing only a small open space. Think about it. Instead of driving to an airport, you could take off from a parking lot, a rooftop, or even your backyard. This is a game changer for urban mobility. No more sitting in traffic, trying to make your way to the airport. Instead, just hop into your VTOL vehicle and go. You might think, but aren't helicopters already doing something similar? Well, yes, they are, but they're expensive, loud, and require extensive pilot training. The X2, on the other hand, is a far more practical option for everyday travel. Sustainability. How the X2 is changing air travel. Let's talk about sustainability for a moment. The Xpeng X2 runs purely on electric power, making it far more eco-friendly than traditional helicopters or planes, which still rely heavily on fossil fuels. Most current aircraft burn jet fuel, releasing massive amounts of carbon emissions into the atmosphere. The aviation industry is responsible for about 2% of global carbon emissions, and that number is rising. In contrast, the X2 produces zero emissions, making it one of the cleanest air travel options available. But sustainability doesn't end there. Energy efficiency is another key advantage of the X2. Electric motors are much more efficient than their gas-powered counterparts. According to experts, gas-powered helicopters waste a lot of energy due to heat and friction. In contrast, the X2's electric propulsion system converts more of the energy into actual movement. This means it can fly longer distances on less power and, importantly, at a much lower cost. A decade ago, electric flight seemed like a distant dream. Batteries were too heavy and didn't store enough energy to support long flights. But now, with the rapid improvements in lithium-ion batteries, that's all changing. The X2 is a direct result of these advancements, and its success is not only a win for aviation, but also for the battery industry as a whole. But the most impressive part of the X2 may be its autonomous flight technology. The AI behind the X2, no pilots needed. One of the biggest barriers to flying cars has always been the need for piloting skills. Not everyone can fly a plane. Traditional aircraft require years of training, strict licenses, and constant practice. The Xpeng X2 bypasses all of that with autonomous flight. Instead of relying on a human pilot, it uses AI and sensors to navigate the skies. Passengers simply choose their destination, and the X2 takes care of everything else, from takeoff to landing. This is a massive step forward, because it means flying cars won't just be a luxury for the few who can afford to become pilots. Self-flying vehicles open the door for mass adoption. Now anyone can take to the skies without needing a pilot's license. The X2 is equipped with LiDAR and radar sensors that help it detect obstacles in real time. It also uses cameras and GPS to understand its position, and AI-powered algorithms adjust its flight path dynamically. In simple terms, it can avoid bad weather, steer clear of collisions, and even navigate city skies without any human intervention. But this raises an important question. Can we trust AI to fly us? While many are excited by this technology, others, like Elon Musk, have voiced concerns. Musk has long been cautious about AI, fearing it could become uncontrollable if not properly regulated. He believes that fully autonomous systems could go wrong in ways we can't predict. For example, what if the AI makes a mistake mid-flight? What if the sensors fail, or hackers gain control of the system? Musk's concerns are understandable. After all, Tesla's autopilot has made great strides, but it still requires human oversight. The idea of a completely autonomous flying car raises a lot of what-ifs that still need to be addressed. Elon Musk, in an interview, emphasized that AI must be strictly regulated with human oversight. He has long expressed concerns about fully autonomous technology, particularly in the context of air travel. While Musk has embraced autopilot in Tesla vehicles, he believes that AI, without careful control, could introduce significant risks. The Xpeng X2, on the other hand, dives headfirst into full autonomy. This raises important questions about safety, ethics, and control. The technology is here, but the challenge remains. Can the public trust AI enough to let it fly them through the skies? The X2 has proven that electric propulsion, vertical takeoff, and autonomous flight are no longer just theoretical concepts. But these advances are just the beginning. The real question is whether the world is ready to adopt this technology on a mass scale, and that's where things get interesting. China's dominance in the race for future transportation. The race for the future of transportation isn't just about electric cars anymore. It's about who will dominate the next wave of mobility. And right now, China is ahead. For decades, the West has been the dominant force in the automotive industry, with American, European, and Japanese manufacturers setting the standard. However, with the rapid rise of electric vehicles, EVs, and now flying cars, the power dynamic is shifting. China didn't just join the electric revolution. It saw it coming long before many others. While other countries hesitated, China made strategic moves to take the lead. Early investments in battery production, charging networks, and car manufacturing gave China an advantage. Today, more than half of the world's electric vehicles are made in China. Brands like BYD, NIO, and Xpeng have surged ahead, outselling established automakers in key markets. China has also solidified its control over the global EV battery supply chain, producing over 75% of the world's lithium-ion cells. But China's ambitions don't stop there. It's now leading the way in flying cars, positioning itself as the new global leader in automotive innovation. The X2 and the growing Chinese competitors. The Xpeng X2 flying car is not an isolated event. Other Chinese companies are already working on similar flying vehicle technologies, preparing for a future where cities aren't just filled with electric cars, but also electric flying cars. Meanwhile, Western automakers are still focused on perfecting ground-based EVs. If history is anything to go by the time the West catches up, China will have already established itself as the dominant force in this space, just as it did with electric cars. One of the few non-Chinese companies to thrive in China's EV market is Tesla. Elon Musk was quick to recognize China's potential, making a bold move by building Tesla's Gigafactory in Shanghai. This factory became a key production hub, helping Tesla ramp up production and reduce costs. As a result, China became Tesla's largest market outside the United States. However, Tesla's success in China is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it has allowed Tesla to scale production rapidly. On the other hand, it has helped strengthen China's domestic EV industry. Chinese brands have learned from Tesla's methods, improving their vehicles and making them more competitive. This has put Tesla in an interesting position. Xpeng, one of Tesla's key rivals, has already gone beyond electric cars and ventured into flying vehicles. The question now is, will Tesla follow suit? Musk has always focused on what he believes will make the most significant impact on the world, not just following trends. But does he see flying cars as part of that vision? As we've mentioned, Musk has always been skeptical about flying cars. Instead of looking to the skies, Musk has focused on underground transportation through his Boring Company. Musk believes that tunnels offer a safer, quieter, and more scalable solution to urban congestion. Unlike flying cars, tunnels aren't affected by weather conditions, don't carry the risk of falling debris, and don't require major overhauls of air traffic control systems. However, tunnels take time and significant investment to build. Flying cars, on the other hand, could start operating as soon as the technology and regulations allow. Xpeng, with its X2, doesn't need to dig tunnels or develop underground infrastructure. Instead, it needs to convince regulators that urban airspace can be used safely. The future, Xpeng's next challenge. For Xpeng, success in China is just the first step. The real challenge is bringing flying cars to the rest of the world. And to do that, they need more than just working technology. They need regulatory approval. This is where the competition will really heat up. Got it. Here's a completely rewritten version, covering the same concepts, but with a fresh structure and flow. Flying cars are no longer just a fantasy. Technology has made them a reality. However, the path to seeing these futuristic vehicles in the skies above our cities is riddled with obstacles. One of the biggest challenges? Regulatory approval. The West, particularly countries like the US and Europe, has some of the most stringent aviation laws in the world. Unlike in China, where the government has been more supportive of tech innovations, getting a flying car like the Xpeng X2 approved for use in these regions will take years of rigorous testing and fine-tuning. One of the core difficulties will be convincing the public and regulators that flying cars are more than just expensive toys for the elite. Despite the technology's incredible potential to solve urban congestion, many people still see flying cars as something out of science fiction. For Xpeng, the real challenge isn't just about developing the car, it's about proving that flying cars can be a viable, scalable solution to real-world transportation issues. If China succeeds in bringing flying cars to the masses, it could change the entire global transportation landscape. Western automakers will be forced to accelerate their innovation or risk falling behind. Governments will need to rethink how cities are designed and how people will move in the future. The next chapter in mobility is being written, and it's happening in China. Flying cars are exciting, but there's one significant problem: infrastructure. Cities across the globe were built with ground transportation in mind. Roads, highways, traffic signals, and parking garages are all designed for traditional vehicles. To accommodate flying cars, entire cities will need to be reimagined. Air corridors will have to be mapped out, just as roads are today. Takeoff and landing zones will need to be designated, potentially on rooftops or in designated airfields. Air traffic control systems, too, will need a complete overhaul to ensure the safe operation of thousands of low-flying vehicles. The challenge here is enormous. Today's aviation regulations were never meant to manage this kind of air traffic. Then, there's the issue of noise pollution. While flying cars are quieter than traditional helicopters, they're not silent. Imagine thousands of small aircraft constantly buzzing overhead. The soundscape of cities could change forever. In contrast to flying cars, Elon Musk has proposed an underground solution to urban traffic: the Boring Company's tunnels. Musk believes that digging tunnels to allow vehicles to bypass traffic is a safer, quieter, and more scalable solution. The challenge, however, is that tunnels are incredibly expensive and take years to construct. Despite efforts to reduce costs, building a tunnel network across a city or even a region requires a significant investment. Flying cars, on the other hand, don't require digging or massive infrastructure projects. They simply need regulatory approval and the creation of new traffic management systems. The cost of construction for a flying car network may be lower, but the regulations and safety standards to manage these vehicles will be just as complex. Currently, flying cars like the Xpeng X2 are priced far beyond the reach of average consumers. Most early models will likely be reserved for private owners, emergency services, or premium ride-sharing. Think of them like the early days of electric cars, once considered luxury items, but now becoming more mainstream. If flying cars are ever to become commonplace, the key will be reducing their cost. For now, they remain expensive, but just like electric cars, the price will drop over time as battery technology improves and mass production ramps up. The first cities to adopt flying cars are likely to be those struggling with severe traffic congestion, like Los Angeles, Dubai, or Shanghai. These cities are already exploring solutions for urban air mobility, and places like Dubai are testing autonomous flying taxis. As flying car technology advances, investors are watching closely. Companies like Xpeng have attracted funding from major tech and automotive giants, as well as government agencies. The urban air mobility market has the potential to become a trillion-dollar industry, but its success isn't guaranteed. Many factors will determine whether flying cars can ever become a mainstream form of transportation. Regulations, infrastructure, and affordability will all play a crucial role. The competition in the skies. The race to develop flying cars isn't just limited to Xpeng. American and European companies are also in the mix. For example, Joby Aviation has created a vertical takeoff and landing (VTOL) vehicle that looks more like a giant drone than a traditional car. With a range of 150 miles and a design focused on being quieter than helicopters, Joby is hoping to make air taxis a reality. Alf Aeronautics, on the other hand, has developed a car that can drive on the road, but can also transition into flight mode when needed. It's a revolutionary design that allows the vehicle to fit into regular parking spaces while offering a flying range of 200 miles. In the next decade, we'll find out whether flying cars become a mainstream mode of urban transportation or remain a niche product. What's certain is that the race for the future of mobility has already begun, and the competition is heating up. For now, flying cars like the Xpeng X2 are in the early stages. They will need years of safety testing, technological refinement, and extensive collaboration with regulators before they're ready for widespread use. Even if the technology is ready in the next few years, it will likely take much longer for governments to allow large numbers of these vehicles in urban skies. Looking at the evolution of electric vehicles and self-driving technology, We know that mass adoption of new transportation technologies takes time. Tesla has already shown that innovation doesn't happen overnight, and flying cars will likely face a similar journey. As for Xpeng and other companies, the future of flying cars will depend on how quickly they can prove the feasibility and safety of their products. Will Tesla enter the race? Musk has previously hinted at the possibility of a Tesla vertical takeoff vehicle, but for now, Tesla's focus remains on electric vehicles, autonomous driving, and AI development. In China, the government has backed Xpeng and other companies in developing flying cars, but the US has a different approach. The FAA has stringent safety regulations, which means that flying car prototypes will face lengthy delays before they can be tested. Europe is in the middle of this regulatory landscape, with some countries like Germany and the UK already making moves toward urban air mobility. The competition to lead the flying car market is fierce, but it's clear that the future of mobility is on the horizon. Whether flying cars will become the future of transportation, or whether other solutions like underground tunnels will take precedence, remains to be seen. The next decade will determine whether flying cars become a mainstream form of urban mobility or remain a high-tech novelty. What we do know is that the world is on the brink of a major shift in how we move around cities. With advancements in technology, regulation, and infrastructure, the future of urban transportation is up in the air, literally. If you have liked this video, please subscribe the channel to get more interesting videos like this.